r/AskReddit. What are pros and cons of going to a high school reunion? Went to my 10YHS reunion. For me, the biggest con was that I rediscovered why I hadn't been keeping in touch with all these old friends. Most were just not that interesting. Some were flat out awful people. Shame, really. The biggest pro was that, although I wasn't actually planning on going, a friend from HS that I had been recently started hanging out with called me up and declared that she wanted to go, but had no date, so I was it. In arriving together, I was fielding questions all night about whether we were together. While not something I had really entertained before, the thought stuck with me for several weeks later. Eventually, I decided I needed to know if there was something there, and I asked her out on a proper date. Dated her for a few years, then proposed, and this year we will be celebrating our 13-year wedding anniversary. Happily married with a 7-year-old boy and a nice house in the suburbs. So I think it worked out okay for me. YMMV. Pros: you literally forget people exist until you see them at the reunion. The wave of nostalgia is euphoric that you almost wish you kept in contact with some people. Also, seeing a familiar face just brings a wave of comfort. Source: last year was my 10-year reunion. Cons: price. After reading all the cynical replies, I felt that I should write more pros. It was so interesting to find out how everyone changed in the last 10 years. Everyone has a story, and it felt so amazing to see how people developed as adults. People change and you should allow them to change as well. If you are on the fence about going, I say you should. These people know you and will tell you tales that you forgot about. I'm usually pretty open person and wouldn't mind going, but the reason I started this thread is because I was mildly bullied, let's say. I was never hit or anything, but I was very excluded. Girls would often laugh behind my back, not even trying to hide it, and so on. I'm afraid that nothing good would come from it, that I would just ended up being extremely closed and antisocial, or would even pick a fight or something. But then again, so many people advised me to go, so I don't know. I had an extremely bad experience at my 20th HS reunion, but for reasons that were very odd and unpredictable. I'm not sure how I can tell this story without coming across as a douche or humbler bragging. I was an average guy, got decent grades, never stood out and just cruised through life. In my 30s I landed a job at a tech startup, really good pay, and because I was so early in the company I received very generous stock options. Unlike 95% of these deals, mine actually paid off, and paid big. I worked hard and did well, but the big payoff was 100% dumb luck, as anybody that worked tech startups can attest. Went to my 20th HS reunion with the wife. It started well, and we just socialized with everybody. A majority of my classmates had known me since I was 5, so there was lots of catching up. At the reunion, I started talking to a guy who I had known since first grade, who was also in tech. He had a few drinks in him at the time. In the normal course of the conversation he asked where I worked, then nonchalantly asked how long I had been there. Since 2020th. From the beginning. He shouts out, "Hey, they just IPO'd a few months ago, I bought some. Thanks for making me money." Turns out he was a supplier to my company and knew its history and knew quite a few of my coworkers and made some decent money getting in on the IPO. He immediately went into worship mode and started loudly bragging to anybody that would listen. Check it out. Dogs had made it big. He was genuine about it, but just went on, and it was immediately very embarrassing. Old girlfriends started coming on to me. The guys that picked on me turned into my best buds. His wife was getting embarrassed as well, and tried to tone him down, with no luck. This was not a dream come true. I was mortified. I'm a low-key guy, and generally live modestly. I mow my own lawn, fix my own cars in the garage. Every time this guy started talking to somebody new, he always said, "Hey, did you hear about Dogtud?" My wife went to the HS in the next town, and she was friends with many of the same people, so she was in no mood to leave early, regardless of how often I dropped the hint. Some of my classmates were highly successful. One is now a CXO at a major US defense company. Another had a very long career in MLB baseball. One was an Olympic medalist. Another was a A-list actress in Hollywood. Another was a well-known historian author. Numerous doctors, even a Navy Blue Angels pilot. Many of these people pulled me and some of our mutual friends into a semi-closed conversation, as they could see how badly I was affected from all the unwanted attention. The CXO spoke to his bodyguard who expertly deflected this guy away from us. I thank him every time we meet. A couple of days later, one of the guys at the reunion shows up at my house. Mikey and I had not really kept in touch, although we were close during school. It turns out he was about to lose his house and his car because he lied to the finance people when getting a mortgage, and he wanted me to loan him $10K to save his house and car. I said I would think about it and shoot him away. Talking with another good friend, I mentioned this guy came by my house and he told me he got the same treatment a year earlier, loaned him some money, only for him to disappear. Come to find out, this is a common thread with this guy. Over the next few days he keeps popping up, begging me for money. Finally he shows up with a classmate who had done some hard time for drug dealing, and the requests turned into veiled threats, and the money demanded turned into an investment in the dealer's business far more than $10K. There was also a few teenage incidents that they threatened to tell my wife about that in reality are no worse than any American Pie plot thread. These were not how to remember when, rather it was give us the money or she finds out about this moments. I'm fucking 38 years old, who cares that I got caught getting blowjob from Sissy when we were 16. But I had enough at that point, and it turned into the classic movie trope about I knew you, since we both were still wearing diapers. We built tree forts together. Old friends to not do this shit to each other. It was like something out of The Sopranos. They left with very clear intent on coming back to collect. Maybe you go on a trip with us, huh? Maybe you don't come back? A few hours later I got a phone call from another old friend, Dave, who worked as a detective in the local police department. I heard Mike has been hitting you up for money. I confirmed it, and he told me not to give him anything, and not to agree to go anywhere with him, and to call him back if anything else noteworthy happened. And whatever bullshit Mike was spouting was the first step in an endless train of money demands, so don't be fooled by his stories. He asked me to keep in regular touch. I put a shotgun in the garage, a rifle in the kitchen, sent the wife and kids to my in-laws, and started carrying a 9mm. I looked into getting a concealed carry permit. A few days later, I was in the garage working on my motorcycle, and I think I had let my guard down. Mike and the dealer stopped by my house. Somehow they coasted their car into my driveway all quiet and sneaky, and as I reached for my gun he said no need to call Dave. I just stopped by to apologize and to wish you well. And he left, and I never heard from either of them again. I'll be going to my 20th year this year. When I graduated, I was generally an outcast. I had a handful of close friends, none of whom were the popular kids. I was chased for being fat, awkward around girls, and generally speaking I was incredibly shy until the end of my junior year. I was considered unfunny. I'm going because I'm in shape. I weigh less than I did when I was 13, and I've run very close to 1,000 miles in the last year and a half. I earn near 6 figures. I'm married for going on 12 years with an amazing young son. I live in one of the best cities in the world, and there's an admittedly slim possibility I'll have my Tesla by then. I'm not looking to them for approval, but I'm looking forward to being more successful than most of them, and them knowing it. Wait, how do you even get invited to these things? They always have them on TV shows, and whatnot as a completely unexpected letter showing up in the mail, but it's not like college where, if you agree to take part in the alumni thing, they take down your contact info. So how does your HS find you? And someone else mentioned 5 years reunions. Is that a thing? I feel way too out of the loop for a 24-year-old. When my classmates reached out to me for our 10-year reunion, it was done via Facebook. Apparently someone from MHS located me on social media. I didn't go, nor did I have any desire to. I was bullied out of prom. No one wanted to walk with me at graduation, and I wasn't even invited to the after graduation party. I spent my graduation night riding my four-wheeler alone on the back roads and drinking beer. Why do I want to go to a high school reunion and listen to everyone talk about all the fun times they had while I was the class freak? No one wanted to hang with me then, and I sure as hell don't want to hang with them now. I'm glad I moved 1,000 miles away, and I have no intentions of ever moving back to that place. I've only been out of secondary school for around 5 or 6 years, so no reunions as of yet. Not really sure how common those are here in the UK anyway. I can only see negatives to the idea though. I was a pretty timid and quiet kid and periodically had to deal with bullies. Definitely didn't have it the worst, but my memories of education between the age of 4 and 18 are overwhelmingly negative, and I still harbor a lot of resentment. School basically demolished my self-esteem and confidence, and I only started to rebuild it once I got the hell out of there. I'm still no social butterfly, but I'm a lot more inclined to speak my mind than I was back then. A reunion would inevitably end with me getting into either a physical or verbal altercation. It wouldn't be healthy for me, and it would be unfair to others who just wanted to catch up with old buddies. Of course, this wouldn't apply to everyone, just my opinion, based on my own subjective experience. If your memories of school are happy, then it might be good to see old friends. If you were a bully, then it might be possible to apologize, and for some victims of bullying an apology would be welcome. But based on my own experience, I would avoid a reunion like the plague. You'll never go anywhere if you keep the mentality you have. I own my own business that is slowly taking off pertaining to computer repair, building and making websites. You'll never be able to run like the rest of the kids. I now can run 2 miles in less than 19 minutes. That's really big for me because I've never been a runner, more a sprinter. You'll never be fit, just keep sitting on your ass and eating Pringles, yeah bitch. 6'3", 213 pounds, 8% body fat. I bodybuild. My life is dedicated to fitness. I would probably be the most in shape one at my whole high school reunion. You keep up this mentality, you'll never be happy, is what my school counselor told me. I'm probably the most happy I've ever been right now, and it's just going more and more the more I age. I make myself happy in any situation I'm in. I force myself to adapt and have grown past societal measures of control on my mind. So Mrs. Delian, you can go fuck yourself for passive aggressively trying to tear me down psychologically, and you were supposed to be a therapist. Wahahaha, don't get me started. I can go on and on and on and on. But to be frank, that one they picked on high school for being a loser, a good for nothing person, the one they bullied for not being able to run like the others, or study like the others, or do things like the others, or know myself like the others, they were wrong, all of them. You want to laugh at me? It is I that has the last laugh. They gave me shit for 4 fucking years of my life, 4 years of hell and torture, telling me all these things I can't. Fuck you. You told me I'll never be fit in gym class, Mr. Ricker. Now I'm the biggest beast in the fucking room. You told me I'd never run or be able to sprint, Mr. Freezehan. Fuck you. Now I'm probably the fastest motherfucker in the whole reunion. You told me I'd never make something of myself, Mrs. Bursley. Fuck you. Now I have my own computer repair / tech business and doing what I want, just like I said I would do. But you know what? Fuck em, all of them. I don't owe them shit. I'm never going to a reunion because I don't care for showing off or shit like that to me. In my life, being at one with myself and constantly growing, mind and body, I've already proved to them and myself that there is nothing that can stop me. I don't want to see those people ever again. They made my life a living fucking hell for 4 years. If I want to visit a teacher that had an impact on me, I will seek them out myself. But I don't care about reunions, fuck em. They bullied me, they laughed at me, they called me stupid, they called me unmotivated, they all said I couldn't, that I would always be a fucking loser, sitting in the depths of nothing. But you know what? I'll tell you something. It is I that has everything. Don't listen to them. Be yourself and kick some fucking ass. Pros. You get to see your high school friends again, perhaps for the first time since graduation. You get to see your high school crush slash boyfriend slash girlfriend again. If you happen to see your old teachers slash principal slash etc, you can't get in trouble with them because they don't have authority over you anymore. Cons. Everyone else seems to be doing better than you, and you both know it. And, no, that doesn't always mean that their lives are secretly falling apart at the seams. Even if that does happen to be true, you don't see that, so it's of little comfort. You get to see your high school crush slash boyfriend slash girlfriend again, and they're happily married to someone else who is much hotter and more successful than you are. Bonus points if their spouses that dreaded you, only better. Second puberty did wonders for everyone else. It didn't just hit you, it ran you over, then backed up, and ran you over again. You know, just like first puberty, everyone still remembers your most embarrassing phase, or that embarrassing thing you did in front of the whole school. You know the one. And they will tease you mercilessly about it. You have to wonder, if everyone missed you so much, why have they not at least tried to stay in touch? Why do they need an excuse organized by your former student council members? Imo, the cons far outweigh the pros. Stay home and binge watch your favorite TV show, or go out with your family. I didn't go to my 10-year. The only people I'd want to see are ones that I'm still in touch with. Everyone else can have their fun, but I really have no interest in spending an evening making small talk with people I never particularly cared for or had strong ties to. There'd have been a couple people I maybe wouldn't mind seeing, but all in all it wasn't compelling enough to slog through the rest of it. I wouldn't get any enjoyment out of seeing that people's lives went to shit, or they got fat or anything. I'm not vengeful by nature and I really don't have any resentment towards anyone from high school anyways. Yeah, some people were assholes, but that shit was behind me the minute I walked out that door. If anything it would just be depressing. I kept to my small group of friends, never bullied anyone, nor was bullied myself. No axes to grind, apologies to give or anything to flaunt. Maybe people have changed, and I could reconnect with someone in a meaningful way, but honestly from what I can gather I have as little in common with these folks as I did 13 years ago. My high school reunion is once or twice a year when my two best friends from those days come to visit from their respective cities, have a few drinks, and get up to the same adventurous and immature bullshit we always did. Just now we can afford the good beer and its wives instead of parents that we are trying to hide our antics from. Works for me. I went to my 10-year high school reunion, but not the school I graduated from. The school I was bullied at and hated being in. My friend was organizing it, so I got a ticket. This was a really preppy school where everyone thought they were rich. Real cliquey school, so if you weren't in, you were out. It was crazy how many people were frozen in time. Almost everyone had the same look they did in high school, right down to the clothes they wore and hairstyles. Everyone even still sat at the game tables with the same people they did, as if they were in the cafeteria. No one socialized. No one danced. It was the most boring reunion I've ever seen. And I told my friend who organized it that's exactly what was going to happen. She said no way, people change. People don't change, not these kind of people anyway. People who look down on others at that age usually only get worse as they get older. One girl, now a woman, who was the class president for a number of years actually refused to go because her friend said she didn't want to be confronted by people she treated badly in high school. That is fucking pathetic to me. I won't sugarcoat it. I felt great going and seeing these people. It was amazing how many people had lost their hair, were fat, and overall just looked like miserable people. I hope to make the 25-year reunion. I went to my 20th year out of high school reunion the last year past. Going in, I wondered about the people I thought really disliked me at the time. Well, I was wrong. Everyone was very much grown up now. I had a conversation with a girl who I told her I really thought you hated me at school, but I really wasn't mean to you, and I didn't hang around you at all, but I thought you dislike me a lot. She replied that you guys were the geek guys and we really good with computers, and I guess I felt threatened or put out a bit because I wasn't any good with that stuff. I saw a guy who was a bit of a dweeb at school, and I recall a few times we picked on the guy a little bit. Over the years I've thought about picking on the guy because I know what picking on someone is like and the lasting state that can embed on a person. I've been picked on too, so I'm certainly not an Ashad bully who doesn't understand the concept. I said to him that anything we did to pick on him, I was sorry for, and I had thought about it from time to time. It wasn't like we picked on him every day, just a couple of times, rarely. He was like it's all good, and we shook hands. In all, it was a really great night catching up with a bunch of people from my year, who I didn't necessarily hang out with, but I knew from them being in my year. It likely depends on the time and circumstances. At my 10 years reunion it still felt like we had not been separated that long. People who were in certain cliques were still talking with only the same people, and almost everybody was in that look how far I've made it kind of mode. It was as typical a reunion as you might imagine. Then I recently attended my 20-year reunion and things were vastly different. There were so many more significant changes. In the last decade there were a few weddings and funerals that brought several in my HS together at different times. People who vowed never to have kids, or whom you never thought would settle down, did, and now had a much different viewpoint. Careers, weight, success, and failure were all at different points and there was not really that whole own-upmanship vibe like before where everybody felt they had to prove themselves. Also, Facebook had mostly killed any surprise between those that kept in regular contact. So it was more just saying hello in person and trying to locate those that managed to stay off the grid in the social media world. Also, by 20 years you find out who the real party people are, and you close down the restaurant/bar at midnight and nobody gives a shit that the waitstaff wants you all gone. I have been to two, but they are not typical HS reunions. I grew up in the military, so my classes are spread out all of the country and world. Many of my classmates are now service members themselves. In HS I guess you could say I rolled with the burnouts, but I also played sports, yearbook, and MUN, so pretty much got along with everyone. Anyhow, we have gathered in Vegas a couple times because it is the most accessible and flights there are cheap. Pros: at the reunion I hung out with people that I didn't roll with in HS, and I had a blast. It made me realize that I was a bit judgmental in HS. For some friends it was transformative. One realized she was unhappy in life, so she changed several aspects and is now doing great. Cons: I really don't like Las Vegas, and for some people it can be super expensive depending upon their lifestyle choices. I'm graduating this June 1st, and I'm counting down the days until I can leave to only return for 1 or 2 reunions. I have little to nothing to say to my peers at this point, based on how they've treated me and the environment my school is fake. I did create a talking point for the future though. Our school does an event to raise money where students can buy their "crush" a can of crush soda for $1 per can. I purchased a can for everyone in my grade. Why? Because I didn't want anyone to feel excluded, like I had for every year prior. People will probably forget about that, but I'm glad I did it nonetheless. I will be attending college 900 miles away, gladly, on a nice, warm, beach campus, looking for a way to start fresh and move on with my life. I went to my 10-year reunion expecting everyone to have matured by then. Unfortunately it was like everyone's issues had been enlarged. The popular cheerleader who never liked me for whatever reason now had breast implants, was wearing even more revealing clothing, and still didn't like me. It was almost like she decided she needed to compete with me, even though I wasn't a cheerleader. It was weird. But my friends were still my friends, and it was great to hang out with them again. I need to keep up with everyone and try to make it to the next one. My favorite conversation was with the guy I had befriended in my English class. I didn't know that he actually went back to high school undercover as a 24-year-old and was writing about it. Lol, we got along great. We had the best discussions all the time. Maybe I just needed to hang out with the college-aged crowd even then. I was able to chat with him about that. It only came out that he was there undercover after we had graduated. He said that compared to most of the kids I seemed to really like high school. That was true. I had a lot of fun. For the most part it was all good clean fun too. I was never in the party crowd. I was in show choir, performed music and did some recording on the side, was in musicals, etc. Thank you so much for watching the whole video. Please leave a like and subscribe.